guys, and welcome back to my channel, Symone Talk. Guys, how are you doing out there? The analytics are saying there's a lot of people watching and a lot of you haven't subscribed. So if this is like your second or third video, what's stopping you? Don't forget to also like and comment if you want to, okay? All right.
And don't forget to share.
And share as well. Thank you, Sim. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Okay, Sim, if you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Symone McCarthy. I am 48 years of age. I was diagnosed with sickle cell when I was 3 years of age, following just a simple poke in the belly by my sibling who thought that I was cheating playing snakes and ladders. So the whole body just erupted in pain. My whole household was in panic because my mum didn't know what was going on, what it was. So I was blue lighted to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where they still didn't know what was wrong with me. They thought I was constipated, I had a number of suppositories, still no effect. And then they decided to keep me overnight. And then once they'd done all the blood tests and stuff, my mum came back the next day, and I just remember her sobbing and the nurse saying, yeah, your daughter's got something that we call sickle cell. My mum didn't even know what it was, where it came from, or anything like that. So sickle cell is a hereditary blood disorder. They used to call it a disease back in the days when I was first diagnosed, but now through education and learning, it's now called a disorder. You have to have two parents who are a carrier of the gene. So both my parents were carriers, and there's different variations of sickle cell. So there's SS, there's SC, there's SB. I am SS, which is the more common version of sickle cell. They say it's the most common and the most severe, but some people wouldn't necessarily agree. So I have crises. Well, I used to have crises when I was younger, and it was a matter of trial and error, because when I was diagnosed, there wasn't much known about sickle cell. So it was, you try one thing, if it worked, you was allowed to do it again. If it didn't work, that was ruled out. So, for instance, swimming. I tried swimming before I went swimming with my mum. It worked, so she said, all right, we can work it, we can do it. And then I went swimming with my brothers, and the longer we stayed in the pool for too long, and when I came out the pool, I had a bit of a crisis. But the heat tends to calm the crisis down. And by the time I got home, had dinner, went to sleep, I woke up and I couldn't actually walk. The pain was all in my ankles, in my heels, and everywhere. So from that day on, Mum said, no swimming. So I didn't learn how to swim as a kid. I only learned to swim 2006. That's when I learned to swim.
And how was that as an adult?
For me, it was trying something that I knew that I shouldn't be doing, but I knew how important it was to learn to swim. So the swimming lessons wasn't a long period. It was like half an hour, 45 minutes, which my body was able to manage. So yeah.
So that's really interesting, because I made the assumption that your parents would have known from birth that you had,
No.
is it sickle cell disorder?
Yeah.
So are you the only child?
Yeah. So my mum's got 3 children. Me and my older sibling, my older brother, we both got the same mum and dad. My brother has nothing because he picked up the 2 healthy genes. So sickle cell trait means you've got 1 healthy gene and 1 abnormal gene. And it's the abnormal gene that is the actual sickle cell. So my mum is AS and my dad is AS. So when at conception, the baby, the embryo chooses which gene it's going to pick up. So my brother, by chance, picked up the 2 A's. So he's healthy. He's got nothing wrong with him. And then I came along and said, oh, what's these S's about? That's how I look at it. What's these S's? Let me have these S's. And yeah, to my detriment, I've got full-blown sickle cell. So yeah, life has been a challenge ever since the day of diagnosis.
So sorry, just to clarify, so you've got 2 brothers?
Yeah, and my brother with who's got a separate dad, he's got nothing also. So he picked up the A, obviously from my mum, and the A from his father. So because his dad hasn't got any form of sickle cell.
Okay. Because I know that when I was having Callum, they tested. Well, I don't remember. It must have been before. I think it was before.
Yeah, they screen you.
Yeah.
So when I was born, there was no screening. There wasn't like a compulsory screening. Now, I think it started in the late 90s, that all babies, whether you're black, white, you have to be screened for sickle cell. But they ask you during your pregnancy, do you know whether you've got sickle cell trait? And they test you.
Yeah.
A lot of single mothers, some of them don't know whether their partner's got sickle cell, or even if they're a carrier. And that's the conversation that people of childbearing age need to start having to reduce the birth rate of babies being born with sickle cell. So currently, there's 17,500 of us with sickle cell living in the UK alone, just in the UK. It's the fastest growing genetic disorder in comparison to cystic fibrosis or any other hereditary condition, but yet it's the least talked about.
Wow.
And the least funded. And there's 300 babies being born every year in the UK with sickle cell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've got so many questions for you. But just going back, that must have been a huge shock to your mum.
Yeah, because my mum had me at 20. So by the time she was 23, she was like, what is this? And they had no fault of her own, or no fault of my own, should I say. But every job that she had, sickle cell saw that she lost it. And then was just a stay-at-home mum, caring for me, having to fight my corner every step of the way, because sickle cell is so unpredictable. Especially as a child, when you're out and you want to fit in with your friends and you're doing all sorts of stuff, it can be at your detriment. So I had regular visits to hospitals, regular blood transfusions, regular all sorts of stuff that used to happen as a child, and my mum had to be there. So every job that she had, I'd go to school and then they'd call her, Miss McCarthy, can you come and collect Symone? She's not well. Or the night time would come. Sickle cell crises tend to happen. A lot of them tend to happen in the night. And that's due to your breathing and the low oxygen. So a lot of the time she'd have to be rushing me to the hospital in the middle of the night. Can't go to work. So yeah, sickle cell saw that she lost all of her jobs and had to end up being a stay-at-home mum. So that's why it's important for the next generation
to be
who's
aware of
having
it.
kids to be aware, and so that they can make informed decisions about their lifetime partners or the partners that they wish to have children with.
Yeah, I find it so interesting that, because with toddlers, and I know 3 is still very young, but even as a 18-month or 2-year-old, it didn't present itself. It happened when you were 3 and you were play fighting.
It did present itself, but my mum didn't know what it was.
Course.
And
Right, okay.
it wasn't so severe. And that's because when we're born, we have this thing called fetal hemoglobin. And the fetal hemoglobin reduces the sickle cells in the body so that you have less crises. But when that starts to die down, the older you get, it starts to reduce. And obviously at 3, that's when mine was low.
Right.
So now the sickle cell crisis are now coming through.
Right, okay.
So yeah, that's what it was.
And what was it like for you as a teenager?
Teenage years, it was me wanting to fit in with friends. Obviously education was a battle, in terms of that I was regularly being admitted to hospital, or regularly being sick at home. And obviously your friendship groups, they change, because one minute you're there, one minute you're not. And so as a result, you don't really keep those same friendships.
Yeah.
Or they are, but they're not as tight. So obviously being taken into hospital all the time and coming back, you're not able to form strong friendships. So a lot of my friends had best friends at school. I never had a best friend, because one minute I was there, then I wasn't. So it had a good impact on the friendship circles that I had. Education in itself, because teachers just tend to give up on you, because the life expectancy back then was, I was told, 21, then it increased to 40. So was it worth studying for your GCSEs if you're going to live to 21?
Sim, is that how you felt they were thinking, or did they actually
No,
say?
They actually said, even doctor hospitals, like consultants, was like, oh, she might not make it to 21. And there was many occasions that I was in hospital and I was really sick, whether it was with pneumonia or my sickle cell percentage was so high that they thought I wasn't going to make it. And they'd call my mum and say, look, you need to prepare for the worst. Like Simone's really poorly. And yeah, so I faced death a few times growing up as a child. But God said, it's not your time yet. So I'm still here fighting the cause. So yeah, it's a journey. And like I said, not everyone's journey is going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's a lot to even process them, because as you said, not a lot of people, like now I know, and you're going to come to that later, you've been raising awareness, but people could just look at you and think,
yeah,
she seems fine. And have you come across any prejudice before?
Yeah, loads of prejudice all the time. Like even at school, I remember in a maths lesson, and like kids being kids, they have that banter. So I was having banter, and I used to go and have regular blood transfusions monthly to enable me to stay in school for as long as possible, so that I could study for my GCSEs without interruption. So some of my friends knew that I used to go and have blood transfusions, because I didn't hide any of my health issues. And one kid turned around to me and said, yeah, well, at least I'm not made up of Tom, Dick and Harry. That moment there was like I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me. And particularly, I think more in university, college wasn't too bad, but university, there was a lot of prejudice. People
did you stay at uni, or did you commute?
I commuted.
Okay.
I chose to go to a university not too far, so I could be close to my hospital, a team that knows me. And yeah, the lecturers know that after my doctors had written letters to say, look, you can't have the aircon on all the time in the lecture theatre. You'd have to blitz the room out first before Symone comes along, and then let the temperature rise, and then you can maybe turn it on for a little while. But my lecturers used to have a vote, and people was in their jackets and jumpers and requesting for the aircon to be on. And I'm saying, take a layer off and then see. But he would be like, who votes for the aircon on? So a lot of the people that I knew and knew about me, they wouldn't vote. And he was like, you're sort of sitting on the fence. I'm going to turn the aircon on anyway. So I used to get up.
That.
Yeah. So I used to get
knowing
up.
that
That it would be detriment to me. Yeah. So I would get up and leave the lecture. And I think because I was so outspoken about my sickle cell, every assignment that I used to hand in, they'd give me that 1% under the pass mark, 2% under the pass mark, so that every summer I was sitting in doing assignments time and time again. Even my dissertation, I had to resit that again.
What was there? Did you ever confront them on this?
No, because I didn't feel that I had a voice back then. So that's why I do advocacy now, because I've learned to speak up for myself, and speaking up for yourself gets you places. Don't care about what other people think in terms of, oh, she's so outspoken, or no, but it's the delivery. Back then I was very rude, that they would say I was rude, or how I deliver my what I wanted to get across. It wasn't in a political way. So yeah, as over the years I've learned that it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Still deep though, isn't it? Like how you were young, you might have just been more direct from what they were used to, and they thought, instead of like trying to learn a little bit more about your condition, let's mark her down.
And I find that in the world of education and employment, senior management don't want to know about sickle cell, even though there's a document called Sickle Cell and Employment. It's a document that every HR should have, particularly if they've got employees that have sickle cell, but no one wants to read it. It tells you how to support us, what to avoid, reasonable adjustments that can be made for us, and no one wants to follow it. And so therefore you're just constantly in a battle every step of the way. So yeah.
So did you say like every employment is likely to have it, or is it something where you've got to sort of take it with you when you join a job?
No, so if you declare having sickle cell, which I advise everybody who has sickle cell to declare it. So I was raised to always tell everybody that I've got sickle cell. Doesn't matter who it is, just raise that awareness. Yes, I have sickle cell. And there's not been one education facility or a place of employment that didn't know that I have sickle cell. And so once you declare it, you have an occupational health assessment in employment, and it's there that the assessor picks up on certain things, asks you questions, how it affects you, and then they advise your employers on how to support you.
Right.
But I found that a lot of management would say, it's only a recommendation. We don't have to do this, or we don't have to do that.
Wow.
So it was just always a constant battle.
And yeah, I know there's some things you can't share, but you would think working in social care, the emphasis on care.
Yeah, the emphasis on care is for the community. I can't mention the names. I can tell the story.
Okay.
So I can say that basically I've experienced two serious levels of disability discrimination for two boroughs that I work for. Can't mention their names because I had to sign a non-disclosure. So my first employment in which I raised a grievance, I endured disability discrimination over a period of 5-6 years, and it ranged from disability discrimination, racial discrimination, because sickle cell is predominantly a black people's African and Caribbean disorder, disease. And so them not wanting to understand it, that falls under the racial discrimination. I had bullying and harassment. I've had someone compare me to a manager, compare me to a service user. Oh yeah, she's rough, isn't she, Symone? No, she's not rough. It's just that, you know, you just got to get, oh yeah, it's good that you're from that sort of culture.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. We take their details after this. What?
It's good that you're from that kind of culture. You understand those sort of people. Yeah. So it's just, yeah.
My mouth's open. Wow.
So yeah, disability discrimination. You'd think that in the local authorities or in social care itself, they'd have that caring aspect and want to support you in the workplace. But no, it's not. It's not.
It's so sad. It is so sad. Do you want to tell us what you're doing now? Because that links into,
So because of my two negative experiences with local authority, I decided that I needed to get out because it's not conducive for my health. So now I actually work for Sickle Cell Society. I mentor the younger generation who have sickle cell. So I guide them around their health in terms of trying to stay healthy. I also am a community projects coordinator. So I manage projects in relation to sickle cell. So for instance, holistic care, retreats, art exhibition that's going to be held in March, to raise awareness about sickle cell and to change the NHS's staff on their perception, because even you face discrimination sometimes in the hospitals. And that's because we go there because the pain is so bad that we require morphine in order for the pain to be reduced.
Yeah.
And we normally start off at home with the oral painkillers like codeine, ibuprofen, paracetamol. And if those don't work, then we take ourselves off to the hospital. A lot of the time, they don't believe you. Depends on how you present. So if you present like some people with sickle cell, some ladies with sickle cell, they don't leave their house without their makeup on. Doesn't matter. So they'll go there all dolled up, and they say no, because it's unseen and we've had it for so long. We know how to, like, if you get somewhere, like, no one would really be seeing me crying. It's only if I'm speaking to my auntie or I start crying. Yeah. But anybody else, I'm trying to stay strong. So I'll be like, just trying to hold the pain in. And that's how it is when we get to the hospital. So some of us, the pain is so bad that we have to cry and scream. There's other people that will present, but the pain is hot, but we're not showing that we're in that much distress.
Yeah.
So because of that, the staff, medical staff, see you as a drug seeker. That you're only coming there for morphine, your addiction, you're addicted to it. So they will see you as a drug seeker and delay giving you medication. But there's now some legislation, some stuff that's in place that the NHS have got 30 minutes. It's called We're Not Listening. So anybody that's out there that's got sickle cell and you go to a hospital and you find that they're delaying, just remind them of the We're Not Listening legislation and the document that's in place. So when we present at the hospital, they've got half an hour. As soon as we say that we've got sickle cell, within the first 30 minutes, we're supposed to be given our pain relief.
Good.
And then they can ask the questions after.
Good.
And if they think that we're still a drug seeker, then they can do what they have to do.
Is that new
But,
legislation?
Yeah, it's new. It's coming about, I think, maybe 2024, 2025. Don't quote me on it. But it's called We're Not Listening.
So I can imagine, like, you present at A&E, right, you're whatever the word is, triage, you put in your details, they check your, and then you're waiting for hours in that pain.
Yeah.
And then if you've got someone who's just like, doesn't have the empathy, doesn't have the knowledge, experience, or thinks actually, as you say, you just want that, they're dragging their feet.
Yeah. And I find that sickle cell, like junior doctors, I don't understand why, but they don't have to learn about sickle cell in their studies, in their whole time at university. They do not have to learn about sickle cell. Why not? I don't know.
They don't have to learn
They don't have to. It's not something that it's not compulsory for them to learn it. If they want to go and study it, they can, but they don't have to learn it. So I've had a junior doctor following. I go and raise awareness around the UK. So my last event was in Hastings at a multicultural festival, and I came across a doctor, a junior doctor, and as soon as she saw my stall, she was like, "Oh, sickle cell," and she came over and we had a discussion. And then she asked me to do some work with her to help her and her fellow peers understand sickle cell, and she explained that junior doctors, they don't have to learn about sickle cell. So I've done a whole video thing and sent it to her because she was studying in Birmingham, and she used that to show to her peers and educate them about sickle cell. But yeah, they don't have to learn about it, and I think that they should, because there was a time when I was younger, say in my late teens, I did a Prince's Trust course, and they took us to Portsmouth, and we was on the army barracks, and I explained I've got sickle cell, but the army barracks, they don't know nothing about sickle cell. They haven't got a clue. So they had me doing all these things, and like officer and gentleman.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can do it. Come on, you got there, you got there, get out that wall, get out that wall. I was saying, I can't. Yeah, but I was still tried, and then we was doing that obstacle course like you see on the officer and gentleman, and I got just before the finishing line, I couldn't do it anymore. My team had to come and drag me across, but I was in so much pain. So I went to my dorm, had a hot shower, took painkillers, went to bed, but it wasn't enough. Then I had to be taken to an hospital in Portsmouth, and I was there crying and screaming because the pain was so much. And everyone was looking at me like I was crazy.
In the hospital?
Yeah, I was maybe the only black person in the hospital. None of the doctors there knew what sickle cell was. Nobody. So I was there left around waiting. It was just, like I say, God has been good, because by the stroke of God's grace, there was a junior doctor who had just finished a placement in Birmingham, because Birmingham has got a high prevalence of people with sickle cell. So because of his training at Birmingham Hospital, he was able to tell the senior doctors how to treat me. And that's how I was able to be treated at that time. So
that is scary, Sim. Because if he weren't there,
I don't know what would have happened.
It's not okay, is it?
No.
Of course, I know we're not like the majority in this country,
but I think the health professionals, everybody needs to know about sickle cell, so they can have that empathy. They know how to support somebody, even if you bumped into them in the community and they presented as being unwell. So the signs and the symptoms, I'll say, is like the whites of the eyes being yellow. That's a sign. Dry lips, it's another sign. Pain, like they might say, like I might be talking to you now today, doing this video with you. I could go home and a crisis just triggers off. It's so unpredictable. And just know that keep offering them water, because they need to stay hydrated and helps the blood to flow. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Just in terms of awareness about sickle cell, because I've said already, try and get to understand what sickle cell is, because sickle cell, like I said, is the fastest growing genetic disorder. And now, because of the interracial relationships, we're now finding that sickle cell is now seeping into the Caucasian cultures. White people get it. And so it's very important to have that understanding of what sickle cell is. And I think employers and teachers should know about it and how to support their peers and employees. Everyone says that, or the medical side of things, they will say that someone with sickle cell trait, that they can live healthy, normal lives without crisis. But there are some people that do have the trait and do experience crises. I can say this from first-hand experience. My dad used to get a lot of pains in his legs and pain in his lower back, and the description of the pain matched exactly like the pains like what I would get. My mum had a crisis when she was in Jamaica, and she just had to remember, like, what I used to do is like put your legs up in the air so that the blood's not flowing and the pain kind of reduces. As a kid, I used to try and hide having a crisis from my mum. So particularly if it was in my arms, because anytime I had a crisis, it's because you never take your medication. So I sometimes used to just hide it, and I used to spit roast. It sounds mad, but I used to spit roast my arm over the fire on the cooker. I used to turn the cooker on and just rotate my hand over it, because the heat would help. And then I'd take painkillers, and then off to school I'd go. But I wouldn't suggest that any child does that now in this day and age, but there's now heat pads and things that are available that you can use, which does exactly the same. But I think people with sickle cell trait, if you are feeling those pains, do not ignore it and do not believe that, or do not listen and hear what the doctors are saying, that you can never have a crisis, because you can.
I was just saying to you that, just for the viewers, that I've got the trait. I think I found that quite late. It was just randomly mentioned during an appointment. I think I was probably about 16. And like you just mentioned, you won't feel anything. Just if I have an operation, then it's on my notes to have more oxygen.
Yeah, when you go to the dentist and stuff like that, they're supposed to be aware.
That's a good point.
In terms of, like, if you're having teeth removed or they're going to be sedated, they need to be aware so that they give you oxygen, because the whole thing about sickle cell is the oxygen in the blood, and not being able to travel around and oxygenate your organs and things.
And do you know what? As I said, when I started this channel, it was about initially raising awareness for others, but the amount of information I've learned on this journey in these years, and even sat here as someone that has sickle cell trait, hearing you, Sim, I'm thinking, that time I was traveling back from Jamaica, or on a 8-hour, 9-hour flight, and I thought it's just because I probably didn't get up, as my mum would say, and walk around the plane, sat there, just use the toilet, come back, and my pain, lower back, when when I get home, I would have to just lay there until it passed. And I just thought, it's because I didn't move. So to hear you, I'm thinking,
and it's because the higher you go up in the altitude, the lower the oxygen is. So I've had 3 holidays which I had a crisis. So one was when I went to America at the age of 7, and my mum still didn't really know much about what sickle cell was. And that flight was about 4-6-hour flight to America. When I got off the plane, my mum, say within the first week, my mum took us all to the seaside, the beach. And she took me into the sea. Worst mistake ever. That night, crisis just hit because of the coldness. So, and then I was in hospital. So 6 weeks holidays, I went out there for the thing. I was in hospital for 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
4 whole weeks, yeah.
Oh my
And this
word.
is a thing for everybody that's got sickle cell. Get the right travel insurance. travel insurance is so important. So my mum didn't know. So we just got normal travel insurance. We got hit with a bill. The insurance company said, we're not paying all of that. We'll pay some of it. So they paid some, and we was left with a $20,000
Oh my
bill.
word, Sim.
Yeah, $20,000 for the 4 weeks that I was in hospital. So it's vital that you get the right insurance.
So it's about declaring it.
Declaring it, but you got to have one for medical conditions. Don't just go and get a post office insurance or the insurance that you've got with your bank account. No, you need
like
proper
that.
insurance.
Yeah, okay.
There's a few that I can list. It used to be called Freedom. So I normally tap in Freedom travel insurance in Google, and it comes up. I think it's called AXA now.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're the cheapest. I find that they're the cheapest. When I tried to do the medical insurance with Marks and Spencer's for a week holiday, they were charging me like £800. But with AXA, it was like £250. Okay. So you can see the difference.
Yeah.
But insurance is key. And then I went to Jamaica when I was 16. I had another crisis. But that was later down into my holiday. But my mum learned from that. So I had oxygen on flight. You can request oxygen on flight. But now, since all this whole COVID and the cost of living, they make you pay for it. So you have to pay for it. And you have to get a letter from your consultant or your GP to say that you're well enough to fly.
Right. Did you have to go to a hospital in Jamaica?
Yeah, I did.
What was it like?
That was
was that another story?
You would think that, it was. Listen, the experience that I had when I went to that hospital, I said, I went to Jamaica for 3 months, so it was the latter part of the holiday. And I had a crisis, and my mum got the next door neighbour to drive us there. So no ambulance that's coming to get you. So we drove there. And I don't know if it's because it was a hospital in the country, but there was only one nurse working the whole hospital, it seemed. So I was on the veranda. There was a few people waiting on the veranda, but I was crying in so much pain that it was like, where's the nurse? Where's everybody? And they were like, she's just gone over. She'll be back soon. She'll be back soon. So I'm there waiting. You see this lady coming from Quay or the other side of the building coming. And she's come down. She's like, who's next? So they felt sorry for me and let me go. So I thought, like you're used to a certain treatment.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I'm going to get seen now. I'm going into the hospital entrance. When I got there, it was like the old school GP surgery with the curtains on the wheels, the desk. So I'm like, okay, where's the doctor? The nurse is calling the doctor on the phone.
The doctor wasn't there?
No.
Oh my gosh.
No doctor. She's calling the doctor on the phone. So she's saying, got this patient, blah, blah. So they said, all right, put her on the phone so she can tell me what's wrong with her. So I'm saying to him, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with me? I'm having a sickle cell crisis and telling him where the pains are. So he said, so what medication do I take? So I said, I've got codeine. I've taken some diclofenac, some paracetamol. So he said, all right, put the nurse back on the phone. So I said, I was thinking, I'm going to get my morphine injection now. He said to the nurse, what she come here for?
What?
What she come here for? She have all the medication we can give her.
He had no clue.
Yeah? There's nothing more that we can give to her. See, as soon as the nurse came and repeated that back to me, I don't know if it was mind over matter, the crisis was gone.
Really?
Crisis was gone. I said, Mom, let's go home now. I'm fine, I'm well, I'm better now. And we went home. And I just continued to take the oral painkillers that I travelled with.
Oh my word.
So, and Jamaica, if you haven't got money to pay for your treatment, you get left to the wayside. And a lot of people tend to die.
It's so sad.
Prematurely.
Yeah.
In Jamaica, in Africa, because they just don't have the funds and the resources to pay for their treatment.
Wow. I know we might moan about this country, but we are blessed.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I know. Everyone says, yes, my wife, we should go and move that to Dubai, or let's go. Me? No.
You by yourself, bye.
Yeah, I'm staying here in the UK. I know where my bread is buttered.
Yeah.
As much as I complain maybe about how they treat me, I know that my healthcare is at the moment free of charge. Yeah, I know that if I walk into the hospital and I say I've got sickle cell and having a crisis, they will deal with me. They're not going to say, okay, we wait for your medical insurance to come through and say that, approve it before we treat you.
Yeah.
Or how much money have you got? Or this is going to cost this amount. I don't have to pay for blood transfusions, which we'll talk about blood transfusions in a minute. Whereas people in Jamaica and Africa who need blood transfusion, they can't simply afford it. So they're using alternative stuff like drinking beetroot juice and all these different things to try and build up their blood. But some people can't even afford the alternatives. So yeah, sickle cell is bad.
Would you be able to, because we make an assumption that everyone knows that they may have it or the trait, but they may not. So I wonder if you
There's no assumptions. Don't assume, oh yeah, my mom told me that I got the trait, or I think the trait runs in my family. Well, if you know the trait runs in your family, you need, or sickle cell runs in your family. The easiest way to go and get tested is you can walk into your local sickle cell and thalassemia centre. There's normally one in every borough. And they can do a simple blood test and then give you the results as to whether you have sickle cell trait or any other hereditary condition. Or you can go to your GP and request it. But children born in the late 90s, they should know. It should be on their file already. Screening. But if it's not, just go and have a simple blood test.
Yeah.
And your mind will be put at ease.
Yeah. And just one other thing. So when you have a crisis, is it like in an isolated part of your body, or can it be over your whole body?
It can be isolated, so it can be just in the joints like your wrists, your elbows, your knee joints, or in your back. But as I've grown, I've learned that it's anywhere blood flows. So you can get crisis in your jaw, in your teeth. There's many times I've been to the dentist with thinking I had toothache, and they've tapped the tooth, and then they want to remove the tooth, so I've allowed them to remove the tooth. When I went and spoke to my haematologist, they're like, Symone, if you tap it, of course you're going to feel pain in your tooth. So it could be a sickle crisis that's going on in your teeth, in your jaws. You can get it in your head. You can get it in your eyes even. And if you get it in your eyes, you definitely need to go and seek medical attention, because it could be that the sickle cells getting stuck in the retina at the back, and that can cause vision issues with your vision, and you can get hemorrhaging in the eye. And then if you see like red floaters, it means that your eye is bleeding, and you need to go and seek immediate medical attention. So blood transfusions. So basically from 2007 till last year, I wasn't having any crises. But there's many people that have regular crises, and a formal treatment for them is blood top-up, blood exchanges. You can have an exchange, or you can have blood transfusion. I call them top-ups. So basically, you go to a medical day unit, and they give you blood transfusions. Sometimes it's 2 units of blood, or it's 3 units of blood, depending on how much they think that you require. So that's a blood transfusion. A blood exchange is very, very different. It's where they take out units of blood and replace it with donated blood. So I've got sickle retinopathy, which means that I've got sickle cells stuck in the back of my eye. And that's because where I wasn't having crises for so long and I presented as healthy, I believe that the NHS kind of neglected me in that sense, because they wasn't really monitoring. They're like, oh yeah, you're healthy. And they were just doing a tick box exercise. But deep inside, my body was sickling and producing a lot of sickle blood. So my sickle levels was 95% before surgery. So let's talk about blood first. So 95% of sickle blood, and there's only 5% of normal red blood cells. So sickle cells is like a quarter moon shape, like a sickle shape. And then the healthy blood cells, like you've got, everyone else has got, they're all circular, like a donut shape, and they glide nicely through the blood vessels. It's the sickle ones that are rigid and they get stuck. So there was 95% of sickle cells. So to prepare me for surgery, I was supposed to have a blood exchange, but due to unforeseen circumstances, my hematologist passed away.
Oh,
and so the hospital decided to change the plan and just gave me 3 units of blood, thinking that was enough. So I went and had the surgery, fine, had my blood test again. It was like 85%, which is still dangerously high. And everyone's thinking, how have you managed to survive without having any crises? But inside I was sickling and having crises, but it wasn't painful for me to be going to the hospital. So I was diagnosed with sickle retinopathy, and no wonder why, because the sickle levels is so high that the sickle cells ain't got no choice but to get stuck in various places. So just 2 months ago, I started blood exchanges. So I have to have, as a child, because going to hospital and always having to have cannulas put in to hydrate you, I don't have much veins for them to access to put cannulas in. So they've had to go deeper into an artery in your bicep bit here. So I had a Mediline put in on this side and a Mediline put in on that side. And then there's like a machine, and it looks like a dialysis machine, and they connect you up, and the blood comes in on this side and the blood is being sucked out on this side. So I've had 10 units of blood in one sitting, and that means that's 10 donors' blood. So I'm reliant now on blood donations, and that reduces the sickle levels, so that there's less sickling in the blood.
How often do you have to have that, did you say?
So I have blood exchanges now every 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
So I'll go and get tested to see what my levels are, and to have a cross match to make sure that the blood is as close a match to mine as possible. And then they'll book me in for the next day to have the blood exchange process.
I just want to ask you, what has your support network been like, whether that's friends or family, and what's kept you going, basically? Like, I'm sure there's been an impact on, whether it's now or in the past, your mental health.
So in terms of, it's good to have, like I said earlier, it's good to have a good support network. Unfortunately for me, so basically growing up, I had a strong, supportive support network. So my mum was my advocate. She was my warrior who fought for me every step of the way. And then unfortunately, sadly, she passed away when I was 21. She died young. So I said that my mum had me at 20. So she was only 41 when she had me. I mean, when she died. And then I had to fight for myself. I was left. My brothers, brothers are brothers. They just get on with their lives and doing whatever. But I just found myself in this world on my own. I had a relationship with my dad, but not much of a relationship. So as the years went by, our relationship built, and he would support me. But because he's got so many kids, I won't even say how many kids he's got, it was just me on my own. And that's when I had to learn to advocate for myself. Yes, I had friends, and I've lost many friends along the way just because they didn't fit into my lifestyle, and it was detriment. Their activities, or me wanting to fit in with their activities, was detrimental to me. So I think when my mum passing, to numb out that pain, I'd go and party. and I'd party from Saturday till Monday morning, and then stroll into lectures half cut, and then taking myself to hospital. Or I might even make it to lectures. I'd go home, change my clothes, because I don't want them to know that I've been out partying, change into a tracksuit and make my way to the hospital. And I later discovered, a hematologist nurse told me, "Do you drink alcohol, Symone?" I was like, "Yeah, sometimes." She said, "So how much water do you drink?" A litre. How many shots of alcohol? Do you drink spirits or do you drink wine? If you drink spirits, for every shot of alcohol, you're supposed to drink a pint of water. But when you're out in the club and you're raving, no one's thinking like drinking water. So I try and get in as much water when I get home. But by then, the alcohol's already dehydrated you, making your blood thick and hard to pass through the blood vessels. So it's very important that anyone that's got sickle cell out there and you drink alcohol, just remember, for every shot of alcohol, you need to drink a pint of water. I know it defeats the object because you don't feel that vibe that alcohol gives you, but it's very important. Very important.
Brilliant. And I know you mentioned off camera about your faith as well. How's that helped?
So yeah, my faith, I did lose my faith a bit when my mum passed, because I couldn't understand, like, why would God take my mum at that age? And I was only 21. I'd only just made it to like real adulthood. And my brother is 4 years younger than me, so he was like 16, 17. So, and then I had to obviously raise him. And yeah, I lost my faith because I couldn't believe, because my mum turned a Christian when I was 16. I watched her get baptized in Jamaica in the river. And then it was no sooner than she got baptized, her health just went downhill. So I was thinking, how can you give yourself to God and then he makes you sick and you're watching your mum deteriorate over a 5-year period, and then she's gone. So I did lose my faith. But I can say that up until that point, my faith in God was a bit in and out. But my faith stayed strong when I had my first hip replacement. So I developed a vascular necrosis, which is, to everybody, it's like a form of arthritis. It's where the sickle cells get stuck in the arteries that provide the femoral hip with blood supply and oxygen. So once that got blocked off, the head of the hip started to die, and then it started to lose its shape, and then it was like it started to rub against the cartilage. So everyone's got that gap between, like, it's like that, and then it started to lose its shape and it started to rub against the cartilage, and then before long it was bone rubbing against bone. And so I had to have a hip replacement, and it was only 2 years from diagnosis of a vascular necrosis to the point where I had to have my hip replaced. And when you're this young, they don't want you to have a hip replacement because you can only have it 3 times in your life, and they say that it's a life of being in a wheelchair or using walking frame, because every time they take it out, it takes a shaft of your bone away. So I had the operation a month before my 21st birthday, and my mum, obviously being the Christian that she was, she sent me to church. And I remember the pastor praying over me and saying, "God, make this hip be just like her bone." And I'm not a really emotional person, but for some reason I just couldn't stop the tears from flowing. And I went to surgery, and on the day of surgery, they changed the decision of what type of hip that they were going to give me, because my canal was so narrow that the hip wouldn't fit in there with the cement. So normally they give you cement and then they push the hip in so that the cement holds it into place. So because my canal was so narrow, there was this new form of hip where they painted this agent onto the metal, and they put it in, and then the bone, my bone would grow onto it. So that's the one that they had. So they done that. They said it was a success, and they said before the surgery that my hip would maybe only last 7 years. Because I'm so young and active, they would only last 7 years. It lasts about 15 years in older, no, you're right, in older patients. So I had that, and for the grace of God, all I can remember from that prayer was, God, make this bone, make this hip replacement be just like her bone. And it has been 28 years since I had that operation. I haven't needed to have it be revised. Whereas I've encouraged other people to have it, and they've had to have it revised like 3 years later, 5 years later. So I know that my God does exist. And even though, I lost my faith along the way after my mum died, I have come back. And God is real.
Wow, praise God. Oh, thank you so much, Symone. I'm going to come and join you now. Sim, thank you so much. Honestly, as you heard me earlier, I started this channel to raise awareness or to help, spread information for others. But the amount of information I've learned as well, even about my own health, But I was just saying to Sim off camera that, and some of you might have seen it as well, I think it was in November or beginning of December. Again, my friend and I, we went to blood centre, Westfield, that's correct. And I was so excited to give blood. I was so excited, thinking, and I was, as I said to you, I felt a little bit worried because I've got the tray and I wasn't sure if I could do it. And when I got there, they said I couldn't because I had a blood transfusion when I was giving birth to my youngest child. And I was really devastated because I feel like I was really inspired by my friend Junior's interview. And I thought I've got to do more than just listen and set the example as well. And on the news, they always, when they cover it, they always mention about, not enough Black and ethnic minority groups are donating blood. So I thought, let me do it. And then that just felt like a kicking. And I tried to negotiate with the nurse. She's like, honey, it's not happening. So like, what records of, if once we donate on that day and then it's sent to that hospital and that patient receives it, it's tracked. So if that patient gets unwell, they'll look back to the source and the history of that patient or that person that donated the blood. So a lot of research has come. But I was saying to you, I wonder whether there are some people out there, Black and ethnic minority groups that have tried or they wanted to, but then they've been told they can't because of the blood transfusions or a tattoo or...
So blood transfusions, not just even for sickle cell, but for thalassemia. Thalassemics rely heavily on blood transfusions. Their life depends on it. So basically, we as Black people, we need to find as close a match as possible. So when they're testing the bloods, and when I have to go for a cross match, let's say for example, they get my blood and then they assume that you can't give blood. because there's so many different rare blood types out there that you may have that blood type that it's not good enough, and we need to do better. If we know better, we do better. And that's why it's so important to raise awareness about these conditions and on blood donations. And just even if you had an accident out on the road and you lost some blood, you may need that blood transfusion.
Exactly.
And if your attitude is, oh, I'm not donating my blood, there's a